Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. We're almost done with the American Revolution. We have 3 more chapters. So, last week, when you worked with Miss Haddinger, you talked about words in the text and how words are super, super important. Like, almost so important we have to get to know them, know what they mean. 2 weeks ago, when we worked together, we talked about a 3-part strategy. We talked about previewing the text. Then we talked about stopping after each chunk and retelling. Then we talked about when it's all over, we have to summarize. So, this week we're going to do something different, but I want you to keep those skills in your head. Don't forget about them, right? Words are still important. We still need to summarize and stop and retell. All of that is still important. This week, we're going to focus on something called visualizing. You'll see inside the word is a smaller word, visual. A visual is like a picture, like your vision. So this week, we're going to focus on visualizing. I want to remind you that good readers create pictures in their minds using clues and descriptive details from the text as they read. You might have heard this as making a movie in your mind. So when we read, we must listen to the words and create pictures and images in our minds to go with those words. Over here, I have the 5 senses. I want to remind you what those are: touch, smell, hear, see, and taste. So all of those should be kept in your brain as you're forming these visuals or these images in your head. Feel is another one for touch they added. So let's get started on chapter 18, Valley Forge. It's attached to the bottom of your assignment. Get that out and follow along with me. Make sure your eyes are open and you're ready to make a movie in your mind. Chapter 18, Valley Forge. Oof, I'm going to stop already because I know that the word valley, what that means is like a valley is a small area of land, usually between mountains, kind of hidden. So I'm already picturing where they are. They're kind of on this grassy area between mountains. Okay, let's keep going. A hard winter. The winter of 1777 and 1778 was the worst time of the war for the Continental Army. The British had taken Philadelphia. Okay, so wait a minute. My image, I have to revise it. They're not on grass. They're probably on snow. And yeah, okay, they're between two mountains. They're hidden, but they are not having a good time. Let's read on. Twice, General Washington had sent his soldiers into battle near Philadelphia. Twice, the British had defeated them. With cold weather coming on, Washington had to choose a place to camp for the winter. The place he chose was called Valley Forge, an open field about 25 miles northeast of Philadelphia. Okay, I'm picturing that field. Oops. Snow was already on the ground when the soldiers arrived in Valley Forge. They put up their tents and began building huts with whatever wood they could find. Before long, they had built 2,000 of them. Wow, I'm picturing that. 2,000 huts made of wood. The huts were drafty, dirty, and cold, but they at least put a roof over the soldiers' heads. Each hut had a fireplace, but no windows. The smoke from the fires made men cough as if their lungs would burst. Wow, I feel like I'm putting myself into this tent and I'm tasting this, I'm smelling this. My lungs, I'm trying to feel like what they might feel. Oof, a fire filling up my lungs. Wow, I'm really making a movie in my head about being inside this tent. The winter in Valley Forge was terrible. Supplies did not arrive. Blankets were scarce. Check the vocabulary. Scarce means in short supply or not having enough. Okay, blankets were scarce. There was not enough food. With no boots or shoes, the men wrapped their feet in rags. Oof, I'm thinking about my feet on the snow, so cold without shoes. Okay, here's a nice picture to help us out with the movie in our mind. And the caption says, "The winter at Valley Forge could have broken the spirit of the Continental Army." Okay, so it's not just physically cold, but also they're starting to feel a little bit upset. They don't know. Is it worth it? We're freezing cold out here. My toes are so cold. Is it worth it? These guys are thinking. Let's see if it's worth it. George Washington later said, "You might have tracked the army to Valley Forge by the blood on their feet." Oh, I'm picturing that. An officer from Connecticut explained how bad conditions were in his journal. It, sno- it snows. I'm sick. Eat nothing. No forage. Let me check what forage means. Food or other items found in a search. Okay. No forage. Lord, 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 cold and uncomfortable. I am sick, discontented, and out of humor. Poor food, hard lodging, cold weather, fatigue, nasty clothes, nasty cookery. Smoked out of my senses. I can't endure it. Why are we sent here to starve and freeze? Whew, wow, okay. So this movie in my mind, I'm picturing these men. Their lungs are full of smoke. Their feet are cold and bloody. Wow. Let's read on. At least 2,500 soldiers died of disease or from exposure at Valley Forge that winter. Let me check what that means. Exposure, harm caused by cold or other extreme weather conditions. Okay? That means that every single day, soldiers had to bury 25 or 30 of their comrades. Some men deserted, which means they simply sneaked out of camp and went home. At the start of winter, Washington's army numbered about 7,000 men. By the end of winter, Washington's army numbered, by the end of winter, there were only about 4,000 left. Wow. So at the start, there were 7,000 men. But by the end of this harsh, cold, painful, bloody winter, there were only 4,000 left. Oh my goodness. I'm really visualizing this. It's horrible. I hope you're not seeing what I'm seeing because it's quite bad. All right, a man of character. Let's see if George Washington can save the day. Every story needs a hero. What did people mean when they said that George Washington was a man of great character? Let me go back up for the definition. Character, the qualities that make up a person. Character traits, kind of. They meant he was honest. They meant that he cared for his men and that he was fair with them. They meant that people always knew where Washington stood and that he kept his word. They meant that he respected others. They meant that Washington was someone you would want on your side. Washington also knew enough to put able men in charge of important tasks. For example, in February, when things were at their worst, a balding, red-faced man appeared at Washington's headquarters to offer his service. His name was Baron Frederick von Steuben. Washington could tell that von Steuben knew how to train men to be soldiers. That was exactly what Washington needed. He hired von Steuben. The German officer taught the men about soldiering. He drilled them over and over. You check what drill means: to train or practice by repeating movement or tasks. He drilled them over and over. By spring, George Washington had a well-trained army for the very first time. Okay, so now I have to picture this new character coming in, this Baron Frederick von Steuben. I'm picturing him. He's a German officer, and now he is here with the colonists. He's making them do something a little bit different. Before they were cold and tired and sad, he came in and said, "No way. We're going to get up, we're going to train, and we're going to beat these British." So he's coming in and he's kind of changing the mood. Von Steuben was only one of a number of Europeans inspired to help the American cause. Another was a 19-year-old Frenchman named the Marquis de Lafayette. As soon as he heard that fighting had begun in America, Lafayette joined the Americans. "I am persuaded," he said, "that the human race was created to be free, and that I am born to serve that cause." I'm going to pause there. So we have another character coming in. This 19-year-old from France, Marquis de Lafayette. He's coming in and he's making this big speech, reminding me of Patrick Henry's big speech. He's making this big speech and saying, "No way, I'm going to help you be free." Washington took a liking to his daring Frenchman. Lafayette quickly became one of his most trusted aides. Check that. Aide is a trusted assistant. Oh, okay. And here is our picture to help us create that image. Baron von Steuben helped train American troops, so that's exactly what I was picturing too. But I'm not just seeing it, I'm also feel like I'm hearing him yelling. I'm feeling that cold snow against my feet, my bloody feet. I'm feeling the hunger. I feel my tummy grumbling. Wow, I have so many feelings. All right, so that is the end of chapter 18. You're going to head back, reread, take a look at it, and jot down your boxes and bullets for who, what, when, and where. Make sure for your what box, I know that one's a little bit hard, try to jot down 2-3 sentences about what the most important thing was. All right, off you go. Let us know if you have questions.